When God is preparing to release something extraordinary into a woman's life, he doesn't just drop it. He positions her. Before the blessing comes, the atmosphere shifts. The battle intensifies. The silence grows louder. But don't be fooled. This is not your breaking point. It's your birthing place. These are not signs of defeat. They are signals of divine promotion. Heaven is aligning. The pressure is proof. And what looks like delay is really preparation. If you've been wondering why it's been so hard lately, why you're feeling things you can't explain, this message is for you. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. When a woman is on the verge of a divine breakthrough, one of the first and most powerful signs, she experiences intense spiritual warfare. It's as if the very atmosphere around her begins to resist her movement forward. Everything that was once steady starts to shake. Relationships become strained. Thoughts become louder. Fear creeps in where there once was peace. It's not coincidence. It's spiritual opposition. The enemy senses what's coming before she even knows it. And because he cannot stop the blessing, he tries to stop her before she reaches it. The warfare is not punishment, it's a preview of promotion. The moment you find yourself wrestling with pressure you can't explain, with anxiety that doesn't match your situation, or attacks that seem to come from nowhere, that's not random, that's warfare. This kind of warfare doesn't just come in the obvious ways. Sometimes it shows up as self-doubt. You begin to question your worth, your calling, your strength. You might wake up feeling heavy, as if you're carrying a burden that's not even yours. Old wounds start resurfacing. Temptations from your past come knocking again. The voices of failure and fear try to revisit your mind. All of it is designed to weaken your faith just before the blessing arrives. What's critical to understand is that the enemy doesn't waste energy on someone who isn't a threat. You are only under attack because you are carrying something valuable. You're pregnant with purpose, and labor pains always precede delivery. People often assume that if they're under attack, they must be doing something wrong. But in the spiritual realm, the opposite is often true. The storm comes when you're doing something right. The pressure increases when your obedience has taken root. The warfare intensifies when your destiny is about to unfold. The enemy is not after your comfort. He's after your calling. He wants to break your spirit before the blessing breaks through. That's why the attacks get personal. That's why the confusion becomes relentless. But if you can recognize the pattern, you won't be shaken. You'll realize that everything fighting you is actually confirming that something big is on the way. During this time, prayer becomes more difficult, but also more necessary. You may feel like you don't have the strength to intercede, but even your weakest cry reaches heaven. God sees you fighting through exhaustion, worshiping through the tears, standing when everything in you wants to collapse. This warfare is not wasted. It is developing endurance, birthing discernment, and deepening your dependency on God. The blessing you're about to receive will require a new version of you, and the fire is forging that version right now. Intense spiritual warfare is also a sign that old seasons are breaking off. The enemy wants to keep you attached to what's familiar, but God is trying to elevate you into what is faithful. So don't be surprised when people start walking away. Don't panic when your normal routines stop working. Don't lose heart when the spiritual atmosphere feels heavy. These are signs that the realm around you is shifting because the heavens are opening. If you've been crying out and it feels like God is silent, know this: He's not ignoring you. He's protecting you. Sometimes the silence is strategic. Sometimes the delay is divine. Spiritual warfare is not evidence that God is far away. It's proof that heaven is closer than it's ever been. So don't retreat. Don't run. Stand. Because the blessing that's coming will be so big, it'll make sense of every battle you had to fight to get there. When a woman is on the brink of divine blessing, one of the most painful and confusing signs she may encounter is sudden isolation from the people she once felt closest to. This separation doesn't always come with explanations. Sometimes the calls stop, the invitations disappear, and the ones she thought would be by her side start to distance themselves. It can feel like rejection, abandonment, or betrayal, but in reality, it is divine protection and preparation. When God is about to elevate her, He often removes the voices that would distract, distort, or delay what He's doing in her life. The people she relied on may not be equipped to walk with her into the next season, and so God, in His mercy, allows the separation to happen even if it breaks her heart. In moments of sudden isolation, it's easy to assume something is wrong. She may question if she did something to push people away or wonder why the ones who once supported her are now silent. But what she doesn't see is what God sees behind the scenes. He knows the intentions of hearts. He knows who truly has her back and who is only there for what they can get. When a new level is coming, not everyone can go. The crowd that cheered in the last season might become the critics in the next. God isolates before He elevates, because consecration always comes before coronation. In solitude, she's able to hear God's voice without the clutter. In the quiet, she's able to reflect, heal, and grow. Many times, the people she's being separated from are not bad people. They were necessary for a season. They may have loved her genuinely, but seasons change. The relationships that served her in one chapter may not sustain her in the next. This doesn't mean she has to harbor bitterness or resentment. It means she must recognize When the grace for a relationship has lifted, isolation is not always a sign that people have failed her. It's often a sign that God is calling her higher. In the Bible, before God used anyone greatly, he often led them into isolation. Moses had to leave Egypt for the wilderness. Joseph was separated from his family. Even Jesus spent time in solitude before stepping into his full assignment. So, if she feels alone, she's in good company. There's something sacred about being alone with God. It strips away the noise and reveals what's real. In that space, she learns to depend on God in a new way. Her identity is no longer attached to approval or popularity. She learns to love herself without the affirmation of others. She discovers strength she didn't know she had. The pain of isolation becomes the path to revelation. It's in those moments of being misunderstood, overlooked, or even forgotten that she comes face to face with her purpose. God does not isolate to punish. He isolates to prepare. The beauty of divine isolation is that it's never permanent. It's a transition, not a destination. God will bring the right people into her life at the right time. People who are aligned with her purpose, not just her past. People who see her value, not just her vulnerability. But first, she must go through the pruning. The breaking away is necessary to make room for what's coming. If she clings to the familiar, she'll miss the blessing. If she resists the isolation, she'll delay her transformation. So, when people walk away or suddenly disappear, she doesn't need to chase after them. She needs to stay still and trust the process. Because the separation is not random, it's strategic. God is clearing the stage so when the spotlight hits, the wrong people aren't standing in the frame. What feels like loneliness is actually positioning. What feels like abandonment is divine alignment. The woman who learns to embrace isolation will be the woman who is prepared for elevation. There are moments in life when doors that were once wide open suddenly slam shut without warning. These are the moments that leave a woman questioning everything. She replays her decisions, searches for hidden mistakes, and wonders why what used to work is now falling apart. But when God is about to do something big in her life, closed doors are not rejection, they're redirection. They are not an end, but a divine shift. The opportunities that used to flow effortlessly may dry up, not because she's doing something wrong, but because she's outgrown the season they belong to. God doesn't allow doors to close unless there's something greater on the horizon that requires her full attention and faith. The truth is, we often cling to familiarity because it feels safe. A job, a relationship, a platform, or a routine may have been a source of comfort and success. But comfort is not the same as calling. When God is about to elevate a woman into something new, he removes her ability to stay where she's been. She can knock on those old doors, but they won't open like they used to. People who once responded with excitement may now grow distant. Spaces where she once thrived may begin to feel constricting. This is not punishment, it's preparation. God knows she can't step into the fullness of her next season while holding on to the remnants of the last one. The closed doors are his way of creating space for the new thing to unfold. In the moment a closed door can feel devastating, she might feel confused, hurt, or even betrayed by God. But what she can't see yet is what he's protecting her from. Some doors look good on the outside, but lead to dead ends. Others might offer short-term gain, but long-term distraction. God's wisdom always sees what's ahead, and when he shuts a door, it's because he's guarding her purpose. She may have had dreams tied to that opportunity or invested years into that relationship, but if it was meant to last, it would still be open. Trusting God in these moments requires surrender. The kind of surrender that says, even if I don't understand this now, I believe you are still good. One of the most challenging aspects of closed doors is that they often come without explanation. No closure, no warning, just a quiet sense that it's over. This is where faith becomes real. It's one thing to trust God when everything is falling into place. It's another to trust him when everything is falling apart. When the door's close, she's forced to depend not on circumstances, but on conviction. This is where her character is refined, her discernment is sharpened, and her spiritual vision begins to see beyond what's visible. What seems like a dead end is often a divine detour, rerouting her towards something far more fulfilling than she imagined. Sometimes the greatest breakthroughs begin with a no. That no might hurt, it might bring tears, but it also brings clarity. God doesn't close doors to break her spirit. He does it to build her future. Every door that closes brings her one step closer to the one that matters most. And when that door opens, it will not require striving, forcing, or compromising. It will align naturally with peace, purpose, and power. It will make sense of every other door that didn't open, every moment she cried, and every time she questioned the process. So when she finds herself in a season where everything that once worked suddenly stops, she must resist the urge to panic. She's not being punished. She's being positioned. Closed doors are sacred signs. They don't mean the end of her story. They mean the next chapter is about to begin, and it will be written by the one who knows exactly where she's going and how glorious her destination will be. When a woman is on the verge of a major shift in her life, one of the most undeniable signs is a heightened sensitivity to God's voice. It doesn't come with flashing lights or thunder from the sky. It arrives in stillness, in whispers, in a sacred awareness that something deeper is stirring within her. The world around her may still be chaotic, but her spirit becomes finely tuned to heaven's frequency. She begins to feel things she never noticed before. Certain environments start to feel spiritually heavy. Certain conversations become draining. Certain choices that once felt neutral now feel deeply misaligned. This is not confusion. It is clarity from God taking root in her heart. Her appetite starts to change. The things she once tolerated no longer sit right in her spirit. What once entertained her now grieves her. What once satisfied her now feels empty. This internal shift is a result of divine preparation. God is pulling her into a place of spiritual intimacy because what's coming requires discernment at a new level. She finds herself waking up with a desire to pray, even if she doesn't know what to say. She may cry during worship or feel convicted by a word spoken in passing. Her spiritual senses are being activated because she is being equipped for the weight of her next assignment. The heightened sensitivity isn't always comfortable. It can feel isolating because others around her might not understand what's happening. They might still be laughing at jokes she no longer finds funny or engaging in activities that now feel spiritually off to her. This disconnection isn't judgment, it's alignment. God is setting her apart, not to elevate her above others, but to draw her closer to Him. He wants her undivided attention. He wants her to recognize His voice without the noise of the world drowning it out. In the silence of separation, she hears Him more clearly than ever before. Not always audibly, but in her gut, in her dreams, in that quiet knowing that keeps her from settling. God's voice often doesn't compete with other voices. That's why He begins to strip away the distractions. He allows delays, disruptions, and disappointments not to punish her, but to quiet her surroundings so she can finally hear what He's been saying all along. In this season, she will begin to sense God's direction before she even sees the road. She will walk by faith and not by sight, guided not by logic, but by conviction. And while others may question her choices, she knows deep down she is obeying a higher call. This spiritual sensitivity also brings increased responsibility. She will be called to guard her gates, her eyes, her ears, her mind. She may feel prompted to fast, to turn off the television, to pull away from social media, not out of legalism, but because she's hungry for more of God and less of the noise. Her inner life becomes more sacred than ever. What once felt like small compromises now feel like dangerous distractions. She begins to live with an urgency to align her heart, her habits, and her time with God's will. With this sensitivity also comes peace. Even in uncertainty, she begins to trust that still, small voice. She knows when to move and when to wait. She may not always have the full picture, but she has peace that surpasses understanding. This peace isn't passive, it's powerful. It anchors her through storms and confirms that Even if she doesn't know what's ahead, she knows who is leading her. As her spiritual ears sharpen, so does her courage. She's no longer easily swayed by opinions or discouraged by delays. She's rooted, she's aware, she's connected. And that awareness is not something she created. It is something God gifted her as preparation for the purpose that is about to be revealed. The more she listens, the more she is led. And in that divine connection, she finds everything she needs for the journey that's just beginning. There comes a time when everything around a woman looks the same, but inside her, something feels completely different. She can't explain it. Nothing dramatic has happened, yet something within her spirit is unsettled. It's not anxiety. It's not fear. It's a divine restlessness. It keeps her awake at night. It whispers during her quiet moments. It interrupts her routines, not to disrupt her life, but to awaken her soul. This is not a breakdown. It's a shift, a sacred transition taking place inside her that no one else can see. She may try to ignore it, push it down, or explain it away, but it only grows stronger. That's because God is stirring her spirit, preparing her for something she can't yet fully grasp. This kind of restlessness often begins subtly. The things that used to excite her now feel draining. The environments that once felt like home now feel unfamiliar. She can be surrounded by people, yet feel a deep disconnection. Her job, her relationships, her daily routines, none of them are necessarily wrong, but they no longer feel right. She's not ungrateful. She's not being dramatic. She's being called higher. Her spirit knows what her mind hasn't yet caught up to. It's time to move, not always physically, but spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. God is signaling a shift, and though she may not have all the details, her soul recognizes that something new is on the horizon. In this season, she may struggle with feeling misunderstood. How do you explain a shift no one else can feel? How do you describe an internal nudge that won't let you settle? The truth is, she's being set apart. Not from punishment, but for purpose. That uncomfortable feeling in her spirit is the evidence of transition. It's the tension between where she is and where she's being called. And while it might seem like nothing's happening, everything is changing. God is uprooting what no longer serves her, removing the comfort that kept her complacent, and creating space for something bigger, deeper, and more aligned with his plan. This inner restlessness is not something to fear. It's something to follow. It's a compass pointing her toward destiny. It doesn't always make sense, and it rarely comes with clear instructions. But with every wave of discomfort, there's an invitation to trust, to release, to surrender. God doesn't give peace to make her stay in a place she's outgrown. He gives her restlessness to push her toward what's next. That's why she can't fake contentment anymore. That's why pretending everything is fine only makes the feeling worse, because her spirit refuses to settle for less when it knows more is coming. As this shift continues, she may feel drawn to solitude. She may crave silence. She may find herself weeping without knowing why, laughing at random memories, or dreaming of things she buried long ago. These are not signs of weakness. They are symptoms of awakening. God is softening her heart, clearing her vision, and reigniting the dreams He planted long ago. The discomfort is refining her. The longing is reshaping her. What she once tolerated, she now resists, not out of pride, but because her spirit knows the weight of the calling she's about to carry. She might feel tempted to rush the process, to escape the uneasiness by forcing answers. But divine shifts require divine timing. Her job is not to figure everything out. Her job is to be still, stay sensitive, and remain obedient. In time, the fog will lift, the doors will open, the connections will align. But for now, the restlessness is her teacher. It's drawing her out of what was and into what will be. Every moment of discomfort is birthing clarity. Every quiet nudge is confirmation. She's not lost. She's not broken. She's evolving, becoming, aligning. And soon, what once felt like restlessness will reveal itself as the first whisper of divine purpose knocking on her soul. When a woman is about to step into a season of divine blessing, one of the clearest and most surprising signs she will experience is unexpected favor in unlikely places. It's the kind of favor that makes no sense in the natural. People who barely know her begin to open doors for her. Opportunities arise that she didn't ask for or apply for. She walks into rooms she never imagined being invited into. There's no logical explanation, and that's how she knows it's not her. It's God. This type of favor is not earned through effort or performance. It's the kind of grace that only comes when heaven is announcing her next level. When God decides it's her time, even the most unlikely circumstances begin to work in her favor. What makes this favor so powerful is that it often appears in places where she least expects it, places where she thought she had no value, rooms where she felt overlooked. People who once dismissed her suddenly start recognizing her. The same voice that was ignored now commands attention. The same gifts that were once hidden now make room for her in influential spaces. And while it may feel sudden to her, it's not sudden to God. He's been preparing her behind the scenes. The favor is simply the unveiling. It's the moment when the seeds she sowed in silence begin to blossom in public. There may have been seasons where she felt invisible, where her efforts went unnoticed, where she questioned if God even saw her. But this favor is God's way of saying, I saw every tear. I heard every prayer. I haven't forgotten you. It's divine compensation. Not always financial, but spiritual, emotional, and relational. God begins to orchestrate situations where people advocate for her without being asked, where doors that were tightly shut suddenly swing wide open, where her name is mentioned in rooms she's never stepped into. She may find herself in conversations with leaders chosen for roles she never campaigned for, given access to spaces she didn't qualify for on paper. That's how favor works. It overrides man-made requirements and places her in divine alignment. This favor often comes through unexpected vessels. It may not be the people she expected to support her. It may not be the community she poured herself into. Instead, it might be strangers, new connections, even former enemies turned allies. God has a way of using the least likely people to deliver the greatest blessings. That's why it's so important for her not to despise small beginnings or judge situations by appearance. What looks insignificant might carry supernatural significance. What feels random is often divine strategy. She just has to stay humble, stay ready, and stay open to God, moving in ways she didn't anticipate. Unexpected favor is also a test of posture. When it shows up, she must remember who gave it. It's not her charm, her resume, or her network. It's God's hand. He favored her not because she's perfect, but because he sees her heart. The right heart posture keeps her grounded in gratitude, not pride. Because favor can elevate, but character sustains. She must walk through these new doors with integrity, knowing that the same God who opened them is the one she must continue to honor inside them. Even when things seem too good to be true, she must not shrink back. She must not disqualify herself from the very blessing God has already approved. When favor finds her, her job is to receive it with faith, walk through it with courage, and use it to bring light to others. Because favor is not just for elevation, it's for impact. It's a sign that God is not only blessing her, but trusting her to steward what he's placed in her hands. So when she starts experiencing favor in unfamiliar places, when she finds herself winning battles she didn't have to fight or receiving blessings she didn't chase, she can rest assured that she is standing in a divine shift. It's not luck. It's not coincidence. It's the hand of God proving that when he says it's her time, no one can stop what he's about to do.